Hello everybody, it's me, Carmine DeStefano, the Bookman. Now last summer, thrown in the whole mix of superhero movies, there was another one that was not as popular as it wasn't based on a famed comic book. It was actually derived from an original screenplay which had been sitting on the shelf for over a decade. It was about a man with incredible powers, no idea of his history, who was also a drunk, a hobo, and had a bad attitude. And that movie was Hancock. Now me, whenever I hear the name Hancock, I always revert back to the gimmick that WCW made when it was a play on words for a character called Miss Hancock, which was Stacy Keibler. Oh, Stacy Keibler. Anyway, I never really think about a superhero named that, and I heard that this movie had sort of a strange storyline that was kind of hard to understand and keep up with. But let's take a look at it and see for ourselves. The movie starts off cliche enough with a heated car chase. During this, Hancock is sitting around drunk. Why is he drunk? So Hancock is walking by this little bastard, and he goes off to solve the problem. And he does in his own unique way. Unfortunately, nobody else is impressed. Cut to Ray, a PR rep who's got this all-heart thing to help save the world. Unfortunately, nobody's buying it. Now, he finds himself stuck in the middle of a railroad track. How did he get stuck in a railroad track? Lucky for him, Hancock is there to save him. Although he did save a life, nobody's happy. Well, except Ray, who thanks him and invites him over to dinner. There, Hancock meets Ray's son, who loves him, and Ray's wife, Mary, played by Charlize Theron, who doesn't particularly like him at all. Either way, he has dinner over at their house. And afterwards, Ray offers his services to Hancock. So back in his trailer, Hancock thinks about that. How can he afford a trailer? The next day, Hancock returns to Ray's house and finds the neighborhood bully, who shows us all what you don't say to Hancock.
Call me an asshole. One more time.
Otherwise, this happens. During their first power meeting, Mary shows Hancock that the DA warranted his arrest. So, Ray, being his PR rep, decides that it would be best for Hancock to accept this arrest. And he does. And he goes to jail. Upon his arrival, Hancock doesn't play nice as he bumps into these two people and does this. I really didn't need to see that. Now Ray implores Hancock to really try harder. Why is he listening to Ray? Further into his sentence, Mary and Ray's son meet up with Hancock, and Mary begs him not to mess around. So, Hancock then has an epiphany.
I think I just figured something out, Beavis. What? This sucks.
Ray then presents Hancock with his new uniform. How did he make one so quick? Hancock is then called by the chief of police for his assistance. So he cleans himself up and flies right in. Now Hancock has to stop these people from killing this woman. And the answer is... yes, I would! So Hancock takes the woman to safety, but that's not good enough for the chief of police. He tells him he's got to take care of the main scenario. Now there, Hancock meets up with this guy who's got a detonator that'll be triggered if he lets go of it. So, how does Hancock solve this situation? And then he gives the chief of police a hand, literally. But now, the people love him. So, it's time to party. And at this restaurant, Hancock reveals to Mary and Ray the origin of his name.
Nurse asked me for my John Hancock. I actually thought that's who I was.
Later on, he and Mary are getting a little close, so she in turn
Ray finds out about me. You're dead.
oh shit! Talk about PMSing. The following morning, Mary meets Hancock at his trailer to tell him about how they're paired up together, they're two of the same, and all the other ones like them had died off. But that's not enough for Hancock, so they fight. And there we learn that Mary's got her own little caveat.
Call me crazy. One more time.
We also learn that when she's mad, stuff like this happens. How can she do that? Ray needs an explanation. So Mary tells Hancock and him that their gods, like many others, who all died off because they got too close to each other. But wait a minute, haven't Mary and Hancock been too close to each other this whole time? How are they still alive?
And the one thing I learned, fate doesn't decide everything.
Later that evening, Hancock goes shopping for some drinks, but instead has to fight crime. Unfortunately for him, he notices he can now be hurt. Somebody's becoming mortal. So they quickly rush him to the hospital. There, Mary returns to him to tell him that they become mortal together so that they can live mortal lives. But if the gods intended them to live mortal lives, why didn't they just make them mortal? Ray's son notices that on the elevator is one of the escaped criminals. Now, how the hell did he escape? Now, the escaped cons attack Hancock, but Mary takes some bullets for him. There, they discover that when Hancock feels pain, so does she. Now, this guy keeps trying to gun down Hancock. That is until Ray comes in to save the day.
You didn't!
What, that's it? He just chopped off your hand, that's all you gotta say? Well, whatever. So now it seems as though they might, but they could, but maybe they're not, but...
They're dead, alright? Can I go now?
No, wait, look! Hancock's alive!
It won't make any difference.
Shut up! So he notes that it's best for him to get as far away from Mary as he can so they both can recover. 1 month later, everything's grand for Ray. Hancock is fighting crime, and he leaves a little memento for Ray. Now, how is he able to do that? Later in the evening, that guy from Resident Evil is holding a woman at gunpoint. Hancock comes in to resolve the problem, and the perp makes a grievous error.
Now let's make it happen, asshole!
And that's pretty much not what you want to do with Hancock. There you have it. So what did I think of this movie? Ill-conceived, convoluted, the storyline makes no sense. You spend an hour on Hancock battling himself, and then 20 minutes on him battling 2 other people. And one of the enemies wasn't even his enemy, it was his wife. It didn't make any sense. There's too much into this for you to have only an hour-and-a-half movie on. You have to really go into the history of these two and all the others. There wasn't enough time to develop this storyline. I mean, Will Smith did all he could to really get you drawn into his character. And aside from a few laughs, it's kind of just thrown together. It wasn't really that good. And besides, it had too much an obsession with this.
Your head is going up the driver's ass.
Asshole.
His head is going up your ass.
Asshole.
And you drew the short stick because your head is going up my ass. Right?
And that kind of just disturbs me. Now, thank you all for watching. I have more for you soon to come. So stay tuned, take care, and have a great day.